The O'Reilly Factor's on tonight.
Looking back, it would have been better for me to use 2 separate phones and 2 email accounts.
But apparently Mrs. Clinton did have a second email account. And now there is yet another controversy surrounding the woman who would be president. Are you tired of this? We'll put it into perspective.
The Bandidos were just given the second highest threat level by the Texas Department of Public Safety.
The nation galvanized by the shootout among rival motorcycle gangs in Texas. Tonight we'll talk with a former Bandido about what's really happening there. Also ahead, you can no longer say the word fat in the workplace. John Stossel will tell us why.
Caution, you are about to enter the no-spin zone. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. The sad state of American politics. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. There is a philosophy that countries eventually get what they deserve. History is littered with fallen regimes. There are thousands of them. Right now in America, there are 2 intense problems that are not solved. First, stagnant wages for working Americans. Because most folks depend on a paycheck for security and well-being, when that paycheck shrinks, there are serious side effects. Under Barack Obama, the median wage has fallen, despite trillions of dollars in stimulus spending by the feds. Talking Points will restate the only way wages will rise is for business to expand. And the only way expansion will happen is with tax cuts, the way Ronald Reagan did it in the 1980s. The Obama administration has done the opposite, taxes up big time. Last year, the federal government took more money in from workers than ever before. But obviously, that didn't help the economy to expand. The second intense problem, worldwide terrorism. Iran tied in with that because Iran trains and funds terror operations all over the Middle East. Now, Iran may get a nuke. In the shadow of those 2 enormous problems, in the shadow, is the upcoming presidential election. On the Republican side, 15 men, 1 woman, considering a run. That means there'll be a brawl in the primary. First Republican debate set for August 6th. On the Democratic side, it's all Hillary all the time. But so far, turbulence has defined her campaign. This week, reports say that despite Mrs. Clinton saying she used just 1 email address as Secretary of State, 2 email addresses were used by her in reality. Also, the New York Times reporting that one of Mrs. Clinton's closest friends, Sidney Blumenthal, apparently was trying to work some kind of private business deal with Libya while he was in contact with Secretary Clinton about the situation.
He's been a friend of mine for a long time. He sent me unsolicited emails, which I passed on in some instances, and I see that that's just part of the give and take.
Talking Points is exhausted with all the Hillary Clinton stuff, and I bet you are too. The ongoing drama is getting tedious and takes away from the serious business of fixing America. Finally, Americans elected Barack Obama twice. His presidency has been anything but smooth, so all of us on both sides of the aisle should consider that old saying the next time we vote. Countries get what they deserve. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. Joining us from Washington, Richard Goodstein, who advised Hillary Clinton's 2008 presidential campaign. James Grimaldi, senior writer for the Wall Street Journal, who won the Pulitzer Prize for investigative reporting in 2006. Mr. Grimaldi, from your vantage point, are all of these Hillary Clinton controversies, and there seems to be one every other day, going to mean anything when the voters show up?
Well, the data from the polls have shown so far they have had a negative impact on her. Her approval rating, being honest and straightforward, last summer was 38%. That has dropped to about a quarter of registered voters in the most recent Wall Street Journal poll that came out this month. And her negatives have gone up. She's up to 42% negative versus about 36% just 7 weeks earlier. So at least on the initial front, it hasn't been good for her. On the other hand, I've had some Hillary partisans say to me, well, we're glad you're writing these stories now rather than next year. We'll get them all out of the way.
That may be true, and people have a short memory. And talking about Hillary partisans, Mr. Goodstein, to me, it's just every time I open a paper or watch Fox News in the morning, Fox and Friends, and I hear another story, my head just droops. Aren't you tired? I think the folks are just sick and tired of it.
So imagine if you're Hillary Clinton and you think that you can actually help the country improve on its current situation. You could kind of shrink into a hole when there's all this incoming, or you could kind of rise above it and do what she is doing, which is she's talking about the criminal justice system, about immigration, today about small business. And in fact, notwithstanding what James just said, in the Fox News own poll, since this email controversy came up and the foundation has come up since then, her standing is actually higher among Democrats, and she's as good or better against every single Republican that she's pitted against in the Fox News poll.
Yeah,
so I would say
true,
there's actually no indication that it's hurting her.
You know that the Republican candidates aren't very well known yet, and that's why. And then I'm not denigrating Mrs. Clinton's appeal to Democrats. I mean, obviously they like her. They most of them will vote for her, but the trustworthiness bothers me. It does. And 25% of the public feels that she's trustworthy. And I think she's earned that. I think she's earned that low number because, yes, she isn't shrinking, but she isn't answering the questions. She's giving memorized, she gave a memorized answer today about the Clinton Foundation, Mr. Goodstein, that you could have written for, and maybe you did. I'm proud of the foundation. It does so much good, but never does she address the conflict of interest in helping certain people. You know that.
Yeah. These controversies started coming up against her back in the 90s. 18 of the past 21 years, according to the Gallup Poll of Americans, she is the most admired woman in the world. So what that tells me is that, yes, there are these questions that are looming out there, and she'll have to handle them as best she could, and frankly, I think she's doing pretty well. But somehow the public's actually able to look beyond that and see her for the qualities that she has.
All right. I'm one of the most admired men in the world, so you can't really go by that.
Congratulations.
Okay. It's still, but what I'm trying to say is maybe that's not a good barometer here. All right. Now, Mr. Grimaldi, I'm going to let you wrap it up with this. The American public, as I said, they're going to get what they deserve. All right? I don't think they really thought out Barack Obama. I mean, I was hoping he would do well. I was one of the 70% after he was first elected that said, look, he won fair and square. I wish him well. He hasn't done well by the American worker. The median income is down. It's down significantly. So if the Americans go to the poll and they elect somebody with a 25% trustworthiness, don't they get what they deserve if she wins?
Well, I'm not sure how to answer that question, Bill, but
isn't it a compelling question? I mean, the nation's getting what it deserves.
Well, I will say our poll did show she's maintaining with Democrats, and it's a long way to Election Day next year. So who knows how that will change. But, you know, we're going to keep looking at the Clinton Foundation and the money that it's received and whether she's done favors for any of the contributors to both her foundation as well as to her family income.
All right, gentlemen, thanks very much. We appreciate it. Next on the rundown, President Obama wants to let some criminals out of prison. Is that a good idea? Then motorcycle drug gangs will talk with a former member of the Bandidos. The Factor is coming right back.